All right, so for this video, I'm going to talk about this really cool sort of phrase that I came across, which is this idea of a runaway slave energy, which I think that really that describes sort of like me, and I think it describes a lot of people who are sort of tired of this world. I think it describes them very well because like the runaway slave energy. What is it? It's basically like you're born into slavery on the plantation, and you have this desire to escape by all means necessary. You have and I think what it is primarily is that freedom is your core value. So if there's anything that infringes on your personal freedom, right? Because there's other people that like their core value, the thing that they value most is money. The thing they value most is other people's approval, right? What this person values most is like the stability, right? But I feel like that there's a certain segment of the population that has sort of that their core value is essentially freedom, and it doesn't matter if they die, right? It's sort of like it's sort of like a give me liberty or give me death sort of energy, right? It's like it doesn't matter how much it destabilizes me. It doesn't matter how much I how much I have to like sort of compromise in these other areas. If I'm not free, I don't care, right? And it's like I don't care about like how it's almost like no amount of money can make you work or can make you work 60-hour weeks, even because if it's an infringement upon your personal freedom, right? If it's an infringement upon your sovereignty, right? And I think that this is like a really cool energy that I can sort of see in my life, which is that is that anything that infringes upon my personal freedom and my personal right to exist on my own terms. If there's anything that infringes upon that, like I don't care. And it's something. And this is like a story that I've told in the previous video where I almost I almost electrocuted myself voluntarily, and because of the fact that I hated working a 9 to 5. Like I like I like I basically almost committed suicide because I didn't like a 9 to 5. I didn't like working a job. I didn't like the infringement upon my personal autonomy was so much that I would rather die than exist in that sort of quote unquote safety. And this is the thing that this is like the carrot at the end of the stick that the system holds in front of people is safety, is stability, right? And I think that, but I think more and more people now are starting to sort of realize that freedom is more important. That it's almost like dangerous freedom is more important than oppressive safety, right? Like, oh, but you're safe if you just give up all these liberties, and I think that there are some people who just like they don't care how unsafe, quote unquote, it is. They don't care how unsafe it is. They don't care how and I think I'm one of those people. Is like I don't care how if it leads to me dying, I don't care. If I'm not a free person, I might as well be dead. I mean, straight up, right? It's almost like how like most people, you know, most people die at 23. We just bury them at 80, right? It's that kind of thing. And I think that the runaway slave energy, when it comes to the soul trap, when it comes to the reincarnation trap, I think a lot of people have this sort of energy where people they just don't care about the things of this world. And I've talked about this in a previous video when it came to money, like why is it that like if you're a spiritual person you don't really care about money all that much, you don't care about the materialistic stuff, right? And I think that that is because yet again it's I don't care how many amenities the slave owners give me on the plantation. I don't care how many amenities and how many save if you're like a feudal serf, you get like the protection of the lord or what of like the lord or whatever, the person who owns the land. And I think that there are some people who just like they just do not care how many amenities and how many oh, but you get dental insurance and you get this and that and the other and you get a 401k and you get this. Like it's almost like yet again the infringement on personal freedom is such that that basically people don't care. People don't care what the system can provide if there's and this is the thing too is that nobody can provide you with freedom, right? Freedom is something that it's an inherent right first of all, but second of all it's something that exists outside of any system. So literally there's no like the system that exists, the matrix has zero bargaining chips for this segment of people, right? And this is why this in order to sort of mitigate that sort of runaway slave energy, right? And there are some people who it's like that they've essentially, and I'm one of those people who I've essentially evaluated my values. I've evaluated, what matters to me, what doesn't matter to me, and I think what matters to me most is that I exist as a free, sovereign being, And if that has to happen outside of the body, I don't care. If it comes to the point where it's like, oh, you have to in order to survive, right? Like, not thriving, you have to survive. You have to do A, B, and C in order to barely scrape by. It's like, no, I would rather, like, if my existence here becomes too unbearable, I'm okay with leaving the body, right? I'm just fine with that. And I think that in order to sort of mitigate that, I think what the system does is it puts people into fear, right? The fear, and I think like the fear of death is one of those big things that I think that people need to overcome. Is that because what the intellect does is it creates a fear of consequences, right? But the thing is that if you overcome the fear of death, like, death is sort of like the ultimate consequence that you can have, right? Like, it's the ultimate sort of negative side effect that you're always taught to be afraid of. Like, you don't want to die. You don't want to die. Like, you want to survive and survive it. But people spend decades surviving, just barely scraping by, and they never actually truly live, right? So what's the point in surviving if you're not actually enjoying your existence, right? And I think that, like, the system will create that fear of death. It'll create that fear of consequence. That, oh, if you do that, it's almost like if this, then this. And I think that is how human behavior is controlled. It's controlled, right, but through fear. And that is the core emotion. That is the core mental state by which by which all the energy in this energy farm, this loosh farm, everything in this energy farm that we live in, the prison planet that we live in, the core state of fear that is something that these demonic entities, the metaphysical evil that runs this world, it wants people in a state of fear, because if you get people into a state of fear, then they become controllable, because you can create fear of consequences, which then creates predictable behavior, right? And I think that this runaway slave energy is sort of like the opposite of that. It's like give me liberty or give me death, right? It's that sort of energy where it's like, yet again, I don't care how many amenities are on the plantation. I don't care if they chase me. I don't care if I die trying. If I die for my own freedom, I don't care, right? And I think that is a really good energy to tap into, the sort of runaway slave energy. It's like this sort of impulse to, no matter the circumstances, I want to live freely. I don't want to, and it's like, I don't want to live under somebody's thumb. I don't want to live on a gerbil wheel, working for someone else. And even, and this is like one of the things that sort of pisses me off. Is like, one of the things that they'll do is they'll make is that the system will make false promises, and what they'll do is they'll say, oh, but you only have to do it for a short time, and then you'll get the reward, right? And that is one of the ways that one of the things that they use to get you to temporarily get, because once you sign that contract, once you go into that state of being, right, then you're a part of the system, right? And I think that is one of the things that is so important to realize, is that, and this might be like an aspect of yourself that you might not have realized, is that you might have a runaway slave energy. You might not, and it's almost like, okay, why is it that I'm so repulsed by doing all of these things that are, logically they're sound, right? Logically, it makes sense to, work a 9 to 5. Logically, it makes sense to, oh yeah, like, you need to get money, get money, get money. You need to achieve things, and need to, do it in order to survive, right? You know, logically it makes sense, but there's something inside of you that rejects it rejects that. It rejects any form of like a normative life. It rejects normal society. It rejects the standards, because it's, yet again, give me liberty or give me death. It's like, I would rather, and this is like a previous video where it's like, I would rather die than work a regular job. I would rather die. Like, I'll make my money some other way. And if I don't like it, then yet again, death is the exit button for the simulation. And I think that is sort of like a, part that's part of the runaway slave energy, is, like, we all come into this world, we're all deceived into this world, right? And none of us want to be here, really. I mean, you might say, oh, but I like it here. Like, okay, you either you're extremely lucky or you're lying to yourself, because nobody really really wants to be here. Nobody really asked to be here. They were told that they had to come here to pay back karma, or whatever, right? The reincarnation soul trap, right? And so I think that there is that sort of runaway slave energy, where it's like you look at it's like you see things for what they really are. You see the true nature of this realm, and your soul essentially rejects the humiliation ritual that is society. That is society. Like, that you have to be, an upstanding member of society, and you have to tick all these boxes, and you have to be a money printing machine for the people at the very top, the top of the power pyramid, right? And that you have to, follow these rules, and you follow these conventions, go to college, go into massive amounts of debt, work a job for the rest of your life, and then retire, have, two and a half kids, one and a half dogs, right? All of that stuff, right? There is a sort of fundamental rejection that a lot of people have towards that essentially, yet again, and this is the thing that is it's sort of like an irrational energy, because this is the thing about like working a regular job for me. This is going to sound super irrational. It's going to, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, even though it logically makes sense for me to, go get a normal job and save money, the I like it's like the scenario of being enslaved to an employer and having to deal with all the toxic people and all the gossiping and all the this, that, and the other, for a paycheck. It's almost like sticking your hand in boiling water. At least for me, it's like sticking your hand in boiling water. It's like, even though, but it's only temporary. It's so unbearable, and it's such an infringement on my, it's like existing in society with all of the rules and regulations. You have to pay rent, and you have to pay this, and you have to pay that, and you're not, and you have to tick all these boxes or you get arrested, and all this other, like, all of that is such an infringement on, on my sovereignty, as well as your sovereignty. It's such an infringement that I just can't stand it. Like, I actually just can't stand. And yet again, I almost committed suicide because of being in that situation, where, yet again, all the toxic people, like the micromanagement, all this other, yet again, it's one giant energy harvesting ritual. It's one giant humiliation ritual to be in that situation. And I think that is sort of the runaway slave energy. It's like, yet again, give me liberty or give me death. I don't care. I don't care if I have to, leave the body. I don't care if I have to, die. If my existence is not free, I might as well be dead, right? And I think that people are starting to realize that now, and I think that more and more people are starting to have that energy where, all of the safety guarantees and all of the amenities that were promised don't exist. And so people say, oh, okay, well, and I think that this is sort of like, having nothing to lose. It's like, am I ever going to buy a house? No. Am I ever going to start a family? No. Right. So it's almost like all of the promises, right? Stable employment. You'll be able to buy a house and buy a car and buy this and buy that. It's all of those promises that the system has made towards people have gone unfulfilled. And I think that more and more people are starting to have that runaway slave energy, where it's like, where it's almost like a, slapping the forehead moment, where it's like, I exchanged my freedom and my sovereignty for empty promises. I don't think so, right? And so people are starting to sort of wake up, and sort of acquire that sort of runaway slave energy, which I think that's a really good, sort of energy to have. And I think that is an energy of, I don't care, you know what the system offers. I don't care, how the system threatens me. Yet again, give me liberty or give me death. And I don't care if I have to leave the body, if I have to die in order for me to have a free existence. I would rather die than spend the rest of my life on the gerbil wheel, surviving, right? Surviving and living under the thumb of a system, right? Because yet again, the fear of death, right? The fear of consequences, right? This is a huge control system. That this is like a huge control mechanism the system has in place, in order to control people's behavior, is the fear of death, the fear of consequences. If you don't do this, then this bad thing will happen, right? And I think that, if you're someone who's, into this sort of soul, like the reincarnation soul trap, right? If you're someone who's into that information, right, and you see this prison planet for what it is, I think that you might have that energy working inside you, because, and yet again, this is also like the whole, becoming jaded with the things of this world. Like, you start to care less and less about the things of this world. You don't really care as much about, achieving things. You don't really care as much about, going out and, like, achieving things and having big accomplishments, and, making a number on a screen go up, right? And I think that is like sort of the core value, is sovereignty and freedom is the number one priority. And if there's anything that infringes on that, the personal freedom, the personal choice, right? It's almost like, why do you resist? Because I choose to. If there's anything that infringes on that personal choice, that free will, that freedom, then I think that, that runaway slave energy just makes you reject it outright. Like your nervous system just rejects it. And I think that is a really good energy to become familiar with. And I think that a lot of people are starting to have that, to sort of have that energy, because they realize how bullshit this world is. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that was just like a really cool phrase, or a really cool statement, like the runaway slave energy. Like you don't want to. It doesn't matter how safe the plantation is. If it's an infringement on your rights, if it's an infringement on your freedoms, you don't care, right? You give me liberty or give me death, right? I think that's a really good energy to have. Like more people are starting to have it. But yeah, that's the video.